And now to the investigation of missing mother Jennifer Dulos. Michelle Troconic was back in court today in connection with the disappearance of the missing mother of 5, and Troconic is accused of conspiracy to commit murder. Today, she was asking that some of the conditions of her release be changed. Channel 3 Eyewitness News reporter Mike Savino was in that courtroom joining us live in Stamford. So, Mike, what happened?
Well, Kara, Troconic did score a partial victory today, getting one of those non-financial conditions changed. But she'll have to wait a couple of weeks because the judge said he wants to issue a written ruling after today's arguments. And it was a very contentious hearing today with both Troconic's lawyer and the prosecutor making accusations against each other and asking for the judge to take action. I'll have more on that. But first, back to that motion. Her attorney, John Schoenhorn, was asking for a number of non-financial conditions to be modified or even taken off. She's currently under house arrest. She has GPS monitoring and has to wear an ankle bracelet. She's also required to report to probation as part of her release. Today, the judge did remove that requirement that she report to probation, but again, he says he's going to take a couple of weeks and issue a written ruling on the rest of those requests. Schoenhorn saying that they are not required anymore because she's not a flight risk. She is out on $2.1 million bond. He says that's enough to get her back to court. He also says that the state's case is not as strong as it was initially presented, pointing to several areas where he says police have misrepresented evidence in this case. But Chief State's Attorney Richard Colangelo does think that the GPS monitoring needs to stay in place. He says that Troconic moved to Hartford to be with Farber Dulos back in 2017. Farber Dulos and Jennifer Dulos were engaged in a very bitter divorce proceeding until Jennifer went missing back in May of last year. And of course, Farber Dulos was then charged with her murder. But obviously those charges that case has now been stalled because he died after trying to attempt suicide earlier this year. He says that Colangelo says that Troconic no longer has any ties to the area and the GPS monitoring needs to be in place. Now, as I mentioned, this was a very contentious hearing today. Colangelo accused Schoenhorn of releasing some evidence to the media against some of the practice books rules here in Connecticut for lawyers. He wanted sanctions against Schoenhorn. Schoenhorn says that this was just a publicity stunt by Colangelo to try to silence him. He says he will not be silenced. He asked for an apology in court. I'll have more on that coming up on Eyewitness News this evening, as well as comments that Troconic's sister made outside of court, giving her support to Troconic. For now, live from Stamford, Mike Savino, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.